let us take a look at how these seasons and how these concepts now influence people in this part of the world, and how this has affected the people of the book and the people of Tawheed. During the winter solstice, it was understood by the people in the northern countries that the celebrations they carried out, that the symbols that they placed into their homes, that the objects that they revered at this time would have a profound effect upon their existence. And just imagine now, if you are living in a northern country and it's snowing out, it's freezing, and you don't have central heating. It's a very serious situation. And people actually found that during the winter seasons, many of their family would die. And so therefore, a number of ceremonies and programs developed surrounding the winter solstice and how the people could then bring back the power of the sun. In the northern countries, the Feast of the 12 Nights stretched from December 25th to January 6th. In their concept, and this is in France and in England and the Anglo-Saxon countries, they had a concept of the winter being a cruel ice giant, and that the sun god and the south wind represented life. And so there was a series of events that went on between December 25th and January 6th. And now you see January 7th is Christmas for some of the people in the Eastern Orthodox Church. The Greeks had a ceremony called the Bacchanalia. And this was developed for their god of wine and sport, Bacchus. This was on December 21st. The Romans had the Saturnalia for their main sun god, whose name was Saturn. And they would go to their colosseums, and there would be gladiators there, and they would sacrifice some of the Christians, to wild animals, and the gladiators would fight themselves. And if the Roman emperor wanted one gladiator to kill the other one, at the point of death he would say, he would give the symbol. If he wanted him to live, he would give the upward symbol that we are still using today. And what is interesting is that when Christianity became very powerful in Rome, the sacrifice of Christians stopped, and it was replaced by little dolls that they would give to each other as gifts. And gifts were traded and given during this time period. The Colosseums had lights on the edges and on the doors. And the people would say to each other, Bona Saturnalia, meaning Merry Saturnalia. And so tradition goes on. One of the most interesting concepts, however, that I found during this period was the concept of Mithras, or Mithra. And this is an individual who, in the ancient religions, probably starting in ancient Egypt with Ra, the sun god, transferred to the Persians and their concept of the sun god, and then taken up by the Greeks and the Romans, that this individual, they believed, was a manifestation of the sun god on earth, like the son of the main god. He came down to earth, and that he sacrificed himself for the sins of people. His birthday was December 25th. His day of the week was the 7th day of the week that we still call Sunday. And there was a special sacrament for him that was made up of bread and wine or some sort of drink. The period of time stretching during this period was Sol Invictus. And Sol Invictus meant the victory of light over darkness. The ancient Druids who lived in the north, in England and Scotland and Ireland, they represented a cult of priests. And they carried out spiritual activities for the people in the north. And the Druids put great emphasis on the mistletoe and also holly, that these would be symbols of fertility. And they would place them in special places, and if a woman needed to have a child, then the husband and wife would be put underneath the mistletoe or near the holly, and this was supposed to bring on holiness and fertility. They also felt that the Yule log should be ever burning in the homes of the people. And they placed within their homes and within their areas of sacrifice and ceremony the fir tree. And this is very important because the Christmas tree has become one of the most important symbols of the Christmas season. Now, when we look outside in the north, we find that the snow has come, that the ice, that the cold winds are blowing. And most of the trees, if not all of the trees, are dead. But you find the fir tree is alive. And so the life within the fir tree was very important for people who are reflecting on natural changes and trying to find spiritual power forces in living objects. And so that was sort of like an amulet, a taweez or a tamima, and they would put it inside of their home as a symbol of life, with the hope that having this tree inside of their home would bring health and wealth and life to their family. We notice also that the Christmas trees usually have a star on the top or a bright light. That is because during this winter solstice season, it was the way of the peoples in the north to burn large bonfires in front of their homes. And this was also with the intention of the heat and the light and the power. Now, when you speak about Christmas today to most people, the image that comes to them is not the image of Jesus, the son of Mary, Isa alayhi salam. The image that comes is the image of Santa Claus. And when you talk to the youth and the adults, they say, well, we just want to have fun. We just want to enjoy ourselves. But what has happened, and we have especially noticed it this year, is that this day, which is supposed to be the representation of the birthday of Christ, has become an orgy of materialism. We find that the prices in the marketplace go up. We find that people are spending thousands of dollars at this time of the year in order to buy gifts for all of their friends and all of their neighbors, and usually they go into debt for the whole of the year. So the problem that comes now is that we have a number of symbols. We have symbols of the nature group. We have symbols of monotheism. And on the top of it all is Santa Claus. Santa Claus has become the main symbol or the main personality of Christmas. And some people would say Santa Claus stands for St. Nicholas. But St. Nicholas, we understand, actually was a Christian bishop who lived in 4th century Asia Minor, which is now Turkey. He was a very thin man, very austere. He used to fast most of the time. He loved children. But this riotous, large, framed, bearded man represents somebody else. When you look at pictures of Saturn that were drawn in the Sistine Chapel in Rome, and when you look at the images of Bacchus, the god of wine and sport, and Thor and the ancient gods, you find that Santa Claus actually now represents this individual who brings to the people wine and sport and play and adultery and all forms of riot and orgy. So what is happening now is this concept, you could say, is change and adapt. Or, as people say in America, if you can't beat them, join them. When in Rome, do like the Romans do. Somewhere along the line, when the Christians were being sacrificed, when the teachings of Jesus, peace be upon him, were under a great threat in Rome, somebody took it upon themselves to make it easy for the northern people to accept these teachings. And so what comes about is an adoption and a change, so that you actually have the Christmas ceremony, which once represented pagan images of nature, images based upon the worship of the sun or the worship of the created things, now in the monotheistic religion. And so the theme of the monotheistic religion actually goes down. And it is interesting to note that the Church of England went to the Parliament and had Christmas ceremonies banned up until 1647. And that the Germans felt that Christmas was actually the time of the devil. And they related to Isaiah, that the devil's throne was in the north. And actually nickel, like St. Nicholas, meant to them the devil. And they would say to their children, if you go outside, St. Nicholas or a Nicholas Nicker is going to capture you, take you away in his bag. And so we have this mixture today, and people are confused. If Santa Claus now is flying all over the world, giving gifts to children, what happened to the labor of the father and the mother? Why is Santa Claus coming down a chimney? That is because there was a belief in ancient Scandinavia that a goddess of flame would come into the home. And so this confusion now is all put together on the Christmas occasion, and people have forgotten about Isa alayhi salam. What our understanding is that Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, the son of Mary, was a very humble person. A person who had only 1 or 2 changes of clothing, who used to walk barefoot most of the time.